Hi guys, in this video we're going to be learning about string methods. This will be the first of 3 videos where we talk about each of the most highly used string methods. In this video we're going to be looking at equals, toLowerCase, toUpperCase, startsWith and compareTo. Before we start with these methods, let's just look at what a string class is. So what is a string? Well, a string is basically a sequence of characters. So let's declare a string. String name equals Amir, semicolon. We're declaring a variable of type string and we're assigning it a value of Amir. And another way to describe this is as a string literal. So it's a fixed set of characters that form a string. In other words, the name Amir. An important point about strings is that they are immutable. So once you create a string, it can't be changed. Once I create this variable, name, with a value of Amir, it can't be changed. And this is quite an important concept going forward, looking at the string methods. Let's start with the equals method. So the equals method will basically compare 2 strings. So it will return true from the method if the 2 strings are the same and have the same sequence of characters. So let's try this out through an if statement. If name dot equals, and as I start typing it out, IntelliJ will suggest a few methods for me, and I'm going to go with the one here, equals. Requires a string, so we want to say that name equals some other set of characters. So I'm going to say James. So we're checking here if the name in the variable, which in this case is Amir, equals the string James. And if it does, we're going to print out match found. Otherwise, we're going to print out match not found. So we can see here that the string Amir does not equal the value of the string James. So this will resolve to false and it will print out match not found. So let's run the application. And you can see there match not found has been printed out. If we were to change this to equals Amir and run the application again, match has been found. However, if I was to say check that the name equals Amir but with a lowercase a, and I run that, it says match not found, whereas they're the same name, except for the fact that the name variable has an uppercase A Amir and what we're testing it against has a lowercase. And that's because the equals method in Java is case sensitive. In other words, it's important to have the same case when checking for an equals. And if it doesn't, it will resolve to false. We can do something to ignore the case. So currently you can see that match not found, so this is returning false. What I can do is go to the end of the equals and type out I, and we have another method called equals ignore case, and this is suggested by IntelliJ. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to run the application again, and you can see now it's match found, even though Amir is an uppercase A here and a lowercase a here. The equals ignore case method is exactly the same as the equals method, except for the fact that it doesn't matter about uppercase, lowercase. In other words, it's case insensitive. Now let's move on to the next method. So toLowerCase and toUpperCase. As their name suggests, one will take a string and give you back that string in uppercase, and the other one will take the string and give you back a string in lowercase. So let's try that out. I'm going to remove this if statement. I'm going to type out S out for our system out print line, and I'm going to do name dot, and what we're going to do here is print out to the console the value of Amir, but all in uppercase. So to do that, we need to use toUpperCase. Run the application, and you can see here it's printed out Amir all caps. And I can do the same if I change this to something like A-M-I-R, so uppercase A, lowercase m, uppercase I, and lowercase r. And if I change this to toLowerCase, so we're going to make sure that every character here is lowercase and print that out to the terminal. So let's run the application. And you can see here that we've printed out Amir lowercase. Now let's move on to the next one, startsWith. So I'm going to change this slightly and I'm going to just type out Amir is a software engineer. So the startsWith method, it basically tests whether the string has a specific prefix or not. If it does have that specific prefix, it will return true from the method, and if it doesn't, it will return false. So let's try this out. Name dot starts with, and it's the first one here, so starts with a prefix. And now we need to provide it with a string prefix. So you can see that the beginning of this string is AM. So let's type out AM, and we should see that this method will print out true to the terminal because we're printing out name.startsWith, and startsWith returns either true or false. So let's run the application, and you can see it's printed out true because this string name starts with the characters A and M. If, however, I was to change that to something like SO, which there is an SO within the string for software engineer, but it doesn't start with it. So that would return false, as you can see here. Now let's say that we want to check that the string starts with SO at a particular point, but only from a specified index. So if, for example, we wanted to say, does it start with SO from this point in the string, we can do that. And we can do that with another method in the string class, and that starts with, and if you just type out a comma and then Command and P on my Mac keyboard brings up the possibilities that you can have for the starts with method. We've already used the bottom one here, string prefix, with the value of AM, and we printed out true. But it also has a string prefix and an offset. So what is an offset? Well, basically, this string is essentially, as we said at the start, it's a set of characters, and each character in this string has an index. So A will have an index of 0, M will have an index of 1, I an index of 2, and so on. So if we wanted to find the point where there's a prefix of SO, we can do that, and we need to use the start index or the offset of the value of S. So let's work that out. So it's, as we said, A is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 for the space, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So the index value of S is 10. So if we set our offset to 10 and run the application, it prints out true because we've set our offset as 10. So we're saying we want to start from this point in the string, and we want to check that it starts with a specific prefix SO. The final method that we're going to look at as part of this video is the compareTo method. So compareTo will basically compare the two strings based on their Unicode value for each character in the string. Let's try that out. So let's remove these values here. So it's just going to be Amir as the string as we had before. And let's remove the content of this printout statement, and we'll just type out name dot compareTo, and then we're comparing it to another string. So let's compare it to, for example, James. Run the application, and you can see it prints out a value of -9, and that is the difference in the Unicode characters. If we wanted that to be a positive value, we could simply swap out these two values because the order here does matter. So if I use the value of James instead of name, dot compareTo Amir, or we could simply use the variable name, that would be a +9, so +9. Now let's change the value of James here to Amir. So we're going to check that Amir, comparing it to exactly the same set of strings, that would return 0 because there is no difference in the Unicode characters, and it's 0. If, however, I was to use a lowercase a for this Amir when comparing to the uppercase Amir, it will print out 32. Now there is also a method on the string class if you want to compareTo but ignore the case. So we need to just go to the end of compareTo, type I, and IntelliJ will suggest compareTo ignore case. So currently we're returning 32, but if we run the application again, it returns 0 because it's ignoring the fact that the A's are upper and lowercase. So that's everything for this video. In the next video about string methods, we're going to be looking at index of, last index of, substring, replace, and length. Thanks very much for listening. I really hope you found it useful, and if you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe.